Hey everybody, it's Lucy here from IGN. I am here with Luke.
Hey everybody.
Now, we are going to talk about the Ghostbusters news that broke over the weekend, that everyone has been quite vocal about, I believe.
Yes.
Now, we've known that there's been a reboot of the Ghostbusters movie in the works for a few months now, for a fair while.
And no one's happy about it.
No one's happy about it at all, and no one was happy about it when it was announced. But recently, a new rumour, care of Variety, has come out saying that Sony is courting Paul Feig to direct the reboot, and it will be a female-centric reboot, which is very interesting and kind of out of left field.
And it's an equally bad idea.
Yeah. I think no matter what happens with this reboot, it's just kind of a bad idea. And I think you and I can agree that, you know, it's a movie that's very close to all of our hearts, all those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And we don't really want to see those beloved characters replaced by new characters and new actors. But
regardless of their genitals.
But with that said, you know, let's have a chat about this potential project, because, you know, if it's going to be done, it's going to be done, and there's sort of nothing we can do about it. And I think there's, you know, regardless of you know, the female skewed thing. I mean, I think Paul Feig is a really good director to take on. Again, if it's going to be taken on, take on the project. He's got a great background in working with hilarious actors and actresses. I first got to know Paul Feig through Freaks and Geeks, which was the classic TV series back in the day that launched the careers of many stars like Seth Rogen, God, what's his name? It's completely gone out of my head. James Franco.
That guy.
That guy. You know, Busy Phillips, like Linda Cardellini. There's a whole bunch of them
That last one.
But like he's great. He's a great actors director, and he also directed Bridesmaids, which I loved. I know you didn't like it so much, but I loved it, and I can safely say that a whole bunch of other people loved it as well. So he's worked with a bunch of really talented actresses and actors, and you know, I just want to sort of discuss the potential of where this could go, and like if it's going to happen, what is the best way? What is the best possible outcome of this project if it actually does go ahead, right? So first of all, I mean, I think that they obviously can't just reboot the script as it stands and just like replace the current characters with girls. I mean, I just don't think that's going to work. I mean, looking back at Ghostbusters as it stands, these characters, they were dudes. They were written as dudes. They were played by dudes. They were, you know, if you look at someone like Venkman, you know, he was a ladies' man. He was a charmer. Like he was that role was his, you know, and it was very masculine. And so I don't think
they all owned their roles. I think the roles themselves are the most crucial part of the film. If you could have put a bunch of people in that film, it wouldn't have resonated as well as Bill Murray and you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the cast chemistry obviously had so much to do with the success of Ghostbusters. So yeah, I don't think that you can actually replace these characters with actresses. It's just not going to work. So, I mean, essentially the idea that in an ideal world, the script would be completely different. I don't know whether it would be some sort of spiritual successor. I don't know whether it would be set in an alternate reality where the Ghostbusters that we know and love didn't exist. But whatever the case, I just think that they obviously have to deviate really, really far from the original script. And in my opinion, you know what, I think that's the best possible outcome anyway, because I don't really like the idea, regardless of whether it's going to be men or women, of just having a watered down kind of version of the movie that we know and love. So I kind of like it that whatever happens, that they're going way, way, way off what our expectations are for this movie.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, there's no reason to remake it. So if it does come out that this is just kind of a remake, and we're just kind of getting another origin stories for this Ghostbusters kind of concept, and it happens to be with women instead of guys, that's a terrible idea, and I can't get behind it, and I can't see myself enjoying it. But yeah, you're right. If they were to take it and... Because it's unless they're going to make it a period film and set it in the 80s. That's not really a period film. They're going to set it in the the modern day. Set it in a different city then, at least. Don't set it in a 2014 or a 2015 that the Ghostbusters never existed. Set it in a world 25 years on, or 30 years on, where all that stuff did go down in New York, and and I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean
that was kind of one of the things that was sort of speculated upon several months ago, several years ago, when it's like, oh, let's make another Ghostbusters film. Let's fill it with sort of new actors, and it's kind of like a Ghostbusters franchise. It's like literally a Ghostbusters franchise, but elsewhere. I remember hearing that sort of, as part of the speculation around what they're going to sort of try to get out of this concept.
Well, because I mean that's the thing, they've been trying to resurrect Ghostbusters for so long now, and of course there was once upon a time it was going to be the original actors coming back, and obviously
except for Bill Murray, right?
Well, that's the thing. Bill Murray was like, no, I don't want to be involved. Then Harold Ramis died, so that's two of the key players totally out of the picture. So therefore it became a reboot, and I think that it's a shame, but it was never going to work. It was never going to happen. Like, we were never going to get that Ghostbusters 3 that we all sort of were hoping we were going to get, because those two, you can't make a Ghostbusters movie without those two guys.
Just play the video game. Just play the video game.
Just
if you haven't played the video game, play the video game. That's Ghostbusters 3, done.
Yeah.
Sorted.
But yeah, I mean, let's move back just talking about this potential Feig project. I mean, so Paul Feig's worked with a bunch of funny women. I mean, let's just start with Kristen Wiig, who is kind of, her sort of career as we know it today was launched by Bridesmaids. And I think she's bloody hilarious, and I can totally see her doing well in another ensemble female comedy. Because, again, that's what Bridesmaids did so well, is that it was, it wasn't just about her, it was about the whole cast of characters. It was her, it was Maya Rudolph. Like, I think that there's great potential in those actresses that Feig has already worked with to come on board onto this project. Sandra Bullock is another one. I mean, she worked with Feig in The Heat, with Melissa McCarthy, and she's proven that she can be a really good straight woman. And I think that if you are going to have a Ghostbusters film around, any kind of Ghostbusters team, then there needs to be the sort of the straight character in order to kind of keep things balanced. And I think she would be fantastic in an ensemble female group. Melissa McCarthy is the obvious choice. Everyone's talking about her right now because she was in Paul Feig's last two films, which were The Heat and Bridesmaids, and she's a great big star right now, and she would be an obvious choice just because she's like a comedic star. She's very funny and she works well in an ensemble.
I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of time for Kristen Wiig. Kristen Wiig, yeah. Melissa McCarthy, I don't know. Maybe her style of humour is not for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
But if you think about like drawing a crowd, Melissa McCarthy's face is very recognisable.
Oh,
she's a star.
Yeah.
So that might go some way.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, I've got another question I'm going to ask you in a second, but I was thinking one of the other things to consider is the setting.
Yep.
Is it going to be New York, or whether or not they should set it elsewhere? If they're going to set it elsewhere, should it be somewhere as iconic and, ghostly? Like, the thing about New York is because it was kind of like New York was kind of this giant hub.
Yeah.
Like, for the 20th century. It made sense that big spiritual things were happening in New York City. I don't think you can just like sort of set it in Chicago or something like that. That's probably a problem. So then I started thinking, on the way up here, perhaps setting a Ghostbusters in London, having sort of an international thing, and then maybe you could bring in sort of people like, say, Emily Blunt, who's done comedy and who I like. Emma Watson, she, famous
so
for
make them
Harry Potter,
younger.
but
I mean, even someone like Rose Byrne would be fantastic. I mean, she's an Aussie, but she did, we've seen that she can do a British accent very well.
That's true. But I guess my second question is, what do you think? Because I don't really have, I can't really put my finger on it, and I was wondering whether you had an idea or at least a sort of an inkling. What do you think the motivation or the shtick behind, say, we're going to reboot Ghostbusters, but let's sort of make the Ghostbusters women rather than
men.
Not so much rather than men, but just rather than anybody that we feel like.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real reason. Say, if you're going to say do Ghostbusters, say there's no real reason why you can't chuck in so-and-so, and Kristen Wiig, and so-and-so.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, these details are actually really vague right now,
and
they've come, they've come from sources.
It could go nowhere.
Well, it could go nowhere, but what we do know is that there's going to be a female skew. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that the team is going to be comprised entirely of females. Maybe they're just saying, it's going to be a mixed gender Ghostbusters, in which case it could be, 2 guys, 2 girls. So we have no idea at this point, but it is interesting that they've decided to include females, and I definitely, if a reboot's going to happen, I definitely have no problem with the fact that they're mixing up genders, because obviously it's not going to be the Ghostbusters that we remember. So frankly, the gender means absolutely nothing to me, and I'm pleased. As a girl, I'm pleased because I like seeing women on screen in central roles, but yeah, I mean, I do quite like the idea that if we're actually going to have this reboot, that they're mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think people are assuming, maybe just assuming that because like Paul Feig has carved out a niche for himself recently by saying, he's made like a raunchy comedy with an ensemble cast entirely made of women, and he's done a buddy cop film which was with women rather than dudes.
Yeah.
I guess maybe people are just putting 2 and 2 together.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
you're right. It might not be the case.
We just don't know.
Hopefully, it'll never happen, and there won't be a Ghostbusters
and we won't
remake.
need to see a remake. So we'll see. I mean, I think in an ideal world, it will be something completely different, and it will be really far removed from the Ghostbusters that we grew up with. Because I speaking from someone who loves that series to pieces, I don't really want to be directly reminded of the original film. I'd prefer they just go, and that's the thing. That's why I kind of like the idea that they're just going way out with it, because it's got to be, that suggests that it's going to be something really, really different. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this, and I realise that this is just a rumour, but it is fun to speculate. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Fun. Possible, I'm a little concerned at the fact that there is going to be a Ghostbusters remake. Still a little concerned.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
That's because I'm a big baby.
Anyway, thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and for more on Ghostbusters the reboot, stick with IGN.
Do you think you can get Bobby Brown back to do the